David, my work is my ministry. I have a passion for this. This is really not a job for me. I was called to do what I'm doing, so I don't see it as a job at all. 3 out of 5 residents in Rockdale County, Georgia. We have 95,000 residents. Let me give you that number again. 3 out of 5, I believe, have my personal cell phone, and they text me. I'm accessible. People need tangible leadership. I talked last year about the 3 ugly E's. David, don't miss this. The 3 ugly E's. What are they? Emotions, egos, entitlement. The essence of leadership is service. Let me say it again. The essence of leadership is service. It's not about you.
Welcome to the Good Government Show. I'm Dave Martin, and you're about to hear my conversation with Chairman Oz. As the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Oz Nesbitt is known down in Rockdale County, Georgia. He started his career in public service as a police officer. He was a cop for 15 years before being elected to office, first as a county commissioner and twice now as the chairman. As you will hear, Chairman Oz has a lot to say about government and a lot to say about leadership. The essence of leadership is service, he says, and he served in lots of capacities. He's a Toastmaster, a member of 100 Black Men in America. He's a former basketball coach and active in his local church. He's also a member of the Atlanta Regional Commission, and that's a forward-thinking organization that's really planning the area's future. Chairman Oz he's highly quotable, and here's just one. Attitude, approach, and appearance. This is how he prepares for the job every day, with the right positive attitude, being out in the community, and looking the part of a county leader. Chairman Oz also created a way to introduce government to the people of Rockdale. You're going to hear about that too. And we talk a little golf and a little barbecue. So join me in my conversation with Oz Nesbitt on the Good Government Show. And I'll have that conversation right after this break. The Good Government Show is sponsored by NACo. That's the National Association of Counties. County government is actually the oldest form of government in the United States, and it touches more people directly. Roads, highways, hospitals, schools, recycling, law enforcement, water and sewers. In most of the country, those services are maintained by the county. That's county government. NACo is a nationwide organization that represents all 3,069 counties across the USA. NACo helps county government work better together through things like sharing best practices. Because when county government works well, that's just good government. Welcome to a Good Government Show and a conversation with, and right now we're having a conversation with Oz Nesbitt. So if you would, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from and what your job is.
Well, David, first let me say thank you for having me on your podcast. The Good Government Show, that's just intriguing right there by alone. But I'm from Rockdale County, Georgia. We are a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia. We're part of the metro Atlanta area, and we make up part of that region. So I'm I-20 East on in Atlanta.
And so tell me a little bit about your background. Always in politics?
Haven't always been in politics. I started my career early, way back in the mid-'80s in law enforcement. I was a cop.
You were a cop?
Yeah.
What made you decide to be a cop?
Well, I always had a passion for people and community. I grew up involved in the church. My aunt, who was the most influential person in my life, was a school teacher, and everywhere she went, she took me, and I learned how to be exposed to people and community problems and issues, and it became a passion.
How long were you a police officer?
15 years.
15 years?
Yeah.
Were you a patrolman? What did you?
I was a patrolman. I was on the DUI task force hunting down drunk drivers. I taught the DARE program. Remember the DARE program, Say No to Drugs?
Yes.
I was a morning traffic reporter on the CBS affiliate.
Really?
And the urban radio station there in Augusta, Georgia, the home of James Brown. And by the way, we have a little bitty golf tournament called the Masters Tournament every year.
I've heard of it.
It's
now,
coming up.
Have you played at the Masters Tournament golf course?
I've not played at the Masters. That's a big thing to be able to say, but I've worked and been there on multiple occasions.
All right. And did you pick up any tips?
I picked up several tips. And number one, how to network with people and how to make relationships and build relationships, because that's really what the whole tournament is about.
I'm just talking about golf. Do you play golf? Do you even play?
I play a little bit. I know how to hold the club, but I walk, talk, and look golf more than I play.
All right.
I'm from Augusta, so I don't have to know how to play because I'm from the place that players play.
So you look like you could play.
I think I can play a little bit.
All right, good. What's going on in your town?
We've got everything going on in Rockdale County in a very good way. That's what really intrigued me about your show, your podcast, the Good Government Show. When I think about good government, I think about all across the country, including Rockdale County. There are so many locally elected officials who have taken the oath of office and doing some very good work on behalf of the people. We're moving our county forward in terms of infrastructure, public safety, and probably one of the hottest topics is mental health and mental illness. We've got a brand new facility that's about to come online where we'll be able to deal with those people who are suffering with mental illness and mental health. So it's a big, big deal. And then, of course, the biggest project in probably over 100 years in Rockdale County is our brand new government complex, judicial complex.
Okay.
Yes. The courthouse that we currently have is one of the greatest locations for the people who are in the film and movie industry.
Why is that?
Well, it was built between 1936 and 1939, so they come in and shoot movies.
Really?
But it's not ADA compliant. It's not up to today's standards, so we're building a brand new complex.
But the old one looks pretty.
It looks pretty. As you know, a courthouse is the centerplex of every community, particularly in the South. You start with your courthouse and you build all around from there, and that's where you begin to build your old town and your city and your community.
Well, I guess that sort of goes back to your police officer experience, the sort of this center of law enforcement and law.
Well, I think being able to touch people and communicate with people, a source of information, a resource center, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, depending on the situation you're involved in, but having that centrally located place where people can go to gather and to gain information about what's going on in their community.
Now, I have to ask this, 15 years in law enforcement, you were getting close to retirement, full retirement from the police department. Why did you step out and do something else?
Well, retirement in terms of number of years, I was nowhere near there in terms of number of age. I joined the sheriff's office when I was 18 years old and 150 pounds. If I can get that size 32 waist back, I kiss you.
Okay. Well, you're a striking gentleman, but that's okay. Let's just keep our size where we are. All right. What are some of the challenges that you're having to deal with in Rockdale? What are people talking about there?
Well, what's new on the horizon is basically information, education, and communication. And what I mean by that, David, we're kicking off a brand new series called Info Sessions. What we've learned that a lot of citizens just are uneducated about the inner workings of local government. So on February the 15th, all the way through the month of October this year, we're going to be spotlighting each and every one of our local county departments to teach and explain to citizens how government works. How does Parks and Rec work? How does the water department actually work? What is the importance of a stormwater department? Who runs the tax assessor's office? Who is the tax commissioner? And how the inner workings of government.
How important is it? I mean,
it's very
don't they know?
They don't know. They think they know. They don't know, because what happens each year when it's time for us to set the millage rate and people want to know why we're going up on taxes, they don't understand. This is an opportunity to connect the dots. So we're going to educate the people and inform them. We're going to show them and give them somewhat of a bird's eye view.
And this will be the first year doing this?
This will be the first year we've done it to this level and to this degree. We've done some surface things in the past to educate people.
How well are they received?
I don't know. We're going to see come February the 15th.
The ones you did, you said
the things we've done in the past have been, I think, received on a more moderate type way. The interest has grown because the community has grown, which means we're spending more money, we're hiring more people. We've got to be able to explain that. People are saying, show me the money.
Yeah.
What am I getting? What is my return on my investment? So
what's your prediction? How do you think this is going to go?
I think we're going to have a tremendous turnout of people. We're excited about it. We put a lot of work behind this to make sure that we market and advertise and make sure people are aware. We're encouraging people to come out. We're going to hope that the folks who come to the first one will serve as ambassadors for all the rest.
Sure. Now, your title is Chairman, Board of Commissioners, but you're also the county manager?
Right.
So explain to me, it's a kind of a unique government setup you've got there.
It's a unique situation. There's only 2 counties in the state of Georgia that has that setup, and that's Rockdale County, of course, and DeKalb County. So I serve as both the chairman of county government as well as some might call the county manager or the county administrator. I'm the CEO of the county government. So I'm wearing 2 hats. I'm there day to day. I'm a 24-hour service. I don't get a day off or time off. I'm around the clock. Me and the sheriff both works around the clock. I'm running the local county government.
So what happens when you go out to the local barbecue place for dinner? What happens?
I get mentally prepared to have barbecue and talk with folks all around the place and get engaged. And guess what? They like seeing me at the barbecue joint and at the barbershop, at the grocery store, and at the church. And I'm all over the place.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I love it.
You're out in the community and everyone can find you.
David, my work is my ministry. I have a passion for this. This is really not a job for me.
Okay.
I was called to do what I'm doing, so I don't see it as a job at all.
Does it have to be? I mean, to be an effective government leader, does it almost have to be a calling?
I really believe it has to be a calling. It has to be your true passion to be able to do this, because one of the things about public service is 2 things. It's both rewarding and challenging all at the same time.
Sure.
So you have to have a passion for people to be able to serve, and you have to be a little bit crazy to do this too. Because I mean, let's face it.
Wait. Are you a little crazy?
I'm about 2% crazy, because
only 2.
You got to be willing to accept folks throwing darts at you, and you got to have thick skin to be in this business. At 8:00, people are going to love you. At 8:15, some of those same people are going to hate the hell out you.
Yeah. What's the reaction when people see you?
Most people get excited.
Yeah.
Because I pride myself in my county and my community on being accessible. 3 out of 5 residents in Rockdale County, Georgia, we have 95,000 residents. Let me give you that number again. 3 out of 5, I believe, have my personal cell phone, and they text me. I'm accessible. I pride myself because I grew up at a time.
I got your cell phone right here.
That's right.
I won't broadcast it.
That's right. Well, I broadcast it. 770-624-9446.
So there you go. Call anytime.
That's right. 770-624-9446. It's about being in touch and in tune with the people. People need tangible leadership. I talked last year about the 3 ugly E's. David, don't miss this. The 3 ugly E's. What are they? Emotions, egos, entitlement.
Yeah.
Oh, man. When you're in leadership and you let yourself get tripped up by those 3 ugly E's, emotions, egos, entitlement, you're headed for destruction. What has saved my life are the 3 A's.
They are?
Attitude, approach, and appearance.
Do you mentor other county commissioners, new county commissioners?
I have there is a brand new county commissioner in Albany, Georgia, Doherty County.
Because those 3 E's any one of those could trip you up, right?
I'm serving as his official mentor and working with him on a close basis. But I talk to other folks. I've been doing this now for a few years, so I get a chance to talk with other county commissioners and leaders throughout the state. People need to know why they are in office. They're not in office for themselves. You're in office to serve. The essence of leadership is service. Let me say it again. The essence of leadership is service. It's not about you.
There are politicians who are in it for themselves.
They are. I see them all the time. And those people are headed for destruction if they're not headed to jail. I'm just calling it like it is.
Yeah. What do you tell a new county commissioner who comes in and gets their first time elected? What do you tell them?
1 word 3 times.
Which is?
Humble, humble, humble. Stay humble.
Do they hear that?
They hear it in the beginning, but when they get all the fanfare and the prestige, and every time they go to an event and someone say, please stand up, want to recognize all, they love that. They bask in their own glory. That becomes a problem. That's a part of those 3 ugly E's: emotions, egos, and entitlement.
It does come back to that.
Yeah. Absolutely. You got to stay grounded. I'm not a holy roller, but I am a man of God. So I have a strong faith and relationship with my God, and I understand that I'm serving to make I'm not trying to sound like a saint or the good guy. I'm just calling it like it is.
Yeah.
I've bumps and bruises and flaws, and I'm a regular everyday person like everybody else. But at the same time, my heart is in the right place, and that's where the people are. People need leaders who are going to do what? Lead.
I'm sure there are some police officers that you got onto the department with. Now they see you as the county commissioner and the chairman of the county commissioners. What's the reaction like of the guys that you used to work with?
Most of those guys, they smile because they remember the days of us answering calls and working in the trenches in the streets. Most of them are proud of my accomplishments in the time and the transition from law enforcement to now being a legislator for local county government.
So we've put together a questionnaire.
All right.
We're going to get to the heart.
Oh boy.
We're going to get to the heart of what government means to you.
So that was just a warm up.
That was to get you ready. Are you ready?
Here we go.
All right. I got them written down right here.
All right, David, bring it.
Here we go. From where you sit as county chair, define good government.
Good government includes one word first, and that is listening. In order to be an effective leader, you have to have the ability to communicate. In order to communicate, you have to have great listening skills.
Do you have those?
I believe I do.
Did you develop those, or do you feel like you've always had it? Are you constantly working at it?
David, I was part of the fabric of the community. So before I became an elected official, I was aware of some of the issues and the problems that existed in our community. So it drew me to say, hey, I want to be a part of making a change and making a difference. In order to do that, you have to be able to communicate with people.
How do you know if you're providing good government? What's your personal yardstick for holding yourself accountable?
When we can go and make a difference with a senior citizen or perhaps a young school-age kid, whether they be in elementary, middle, or high school, and we can have a real positive impact on either the senior citizen or that school-age child in terms of getting something that they need. That something they need could be making sure they get resources to pay their rent or their utilities, or giving someone a ham or a turkey during Easter or Thanksgiving. For that young person who has a desire to go to college.
So you're really looking at this on a very personal level.
It's very personal because politics is local.
Yeah.
And the issues are local. The folks who run the country are not on Pennsylvania Avenue. They're on Millstead Avenue in Rockdale County. That's where the rubber meets the road, because that's where the real difference is made. It's not made at the White House. The folks at the White House should be carrying out what we're doing in the local trenches of our community.
So how should the citizens of Rockdale hold you accountable? How should they make sure you're delivering good government?
They need to show up. They need to be present. They need to be present as frequent and as often as they can. When they see county employees or city employees doing good work, they need to acknowledge it and praise it. When they see someone out of order, they need to make a report of that as well. Showing up holds your elected officials accountable for the work. When you're not there, it leads them to their own decision, their own demise, because they think that no one's watching. Be present is what I would say.
And if they show up and they don't like what they see, what should they do?
They should do several things. Show up again.
Okay.
Send an email.
All right. Call you. You've given
Call me. Request to meet with that particular elected official that has either rubbed them the wrong way or driving the wrong direction.
All right. So you want them to get a hold of you?
It's back to the first thing we started talking about with your questionnaire: communication.
Okay.
And listening.
Government isn't easy. There's lots of moving parts. There's lots to it. There's lots of departments. There's lots of people to manage. What would you like people to know about government? As an insider, what would you like them to know?
Beware of easy. Beware of easy. There's absolutely nothing easy about the work that we do. And for the citizens to know that there are good people in the community who are committed to doing good work and making sure that they represent the constituents that they've been called to serve. But communicate and engage with your leaders to make sure that you're on tune and on track with where they're going. And if there's something you don't like, don't get all frustrated. Don't take it personal. Go see them. Have a can of beer, a cup of coffee.
Okay. All right, here's an easy question. Who's your political hero?
Wow, that's a big one there.
All right, maybe it wasn't easy.
Well, it wasn't easy, but let me just tell you, I'm still a big fan of President John F. Kennedy. I've always been a big fan of his. He says, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I think, again, it's all about service and meeting people where they are. When I think about the Kennedy administration way back then, he wasn't afraid to break barriers. He wasn't afraid to step outside the box. And during the brink of the civil rights era, if you can remember that time zone, it was his administration, between he and his brother, who did things that no one else was bold enough to do. We're still on the brink of being bold every day. Okay. People often ask me about my legacy. You know where my legacy is? It's right now, sitting here talking to David on this podcast about good government. My legacy won't be a name on a bridge or a name on a building. It's what we can do every day to make a difference in the lives of other people. The essence of leadership is what? Service.
Right. Well, that said, Kennedy does have his name on a few things.
He does, but he didn't put him up there. So I say to folks.
So is there going to be like an Oz Nesbitt airport?
Well, let me tell you, I won't come up with that. That'll be up to the people. Okay. Rockdale County is not for sale. So any candidate who's thinking about challenging me for this opportunity, I want to say to them, Rockdale County is not for sale. I can't ask you to give me an award. I can't ask you to put a proclamation in my name. My work and my service should speak for itself. The people know who's doing the work. You can't buy Rockdale County. It's not for sale.
You're from Georgia? What's your favorite dish? What's your favorite cuisine? Your place to go? What do you like to eat?
Well, my favorite dish, being from Georgia, I have to say fish and grits.
Fish and grits.
Yeah, fish and grits is probably my best Southern meal. I'm a true Georgia boy, so I like good old fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, the comfort food, and a good old piece of cornbread.
You talked about going to a barbecue place.
Absolutely. I love good barbecue ribs. Yeah. And the best pit master I know in the state of Georgia is a man by the name of Mr. Timmer. He's down in Albany, Georgia. He can really slow roast some ribs and make them fall off the bone.
That's the place to go.
That's the place to go. Okay. Absolutely.
So, you started off in law enforcement, something a little bit different, but was politics something you always had in the back of your mind? Was it something you always thought about? Were you class president?
Law enforcement is politics.
Okay.
When I
bet it is.
Absolutely, all day, every day. But yeah, when I was a kid in high school, I was a part of junior achievement. I was in the JROTC program. We had an Air Force ROTC program for the kids. So I was a cadet. I was a part of the Police Explorers. I was on a program in my local church, a Baptist church called the Royal Ambassadors. So I've always been attracted to structure and discipline and order. I learned that I had a gift for public speaking by growing up in the church, being active and involved in my local church. That's where it all started. I didn't know that I was truly a public speaker. Later in life, I learned to be smart enough to join the local Toastmasters club.
Wow.
So
that'll turn you into a great speaker.
It will. It really will. Because when you learn to be an effective communicator, it'll open up any door.
You stopped by our booth here at the National Association of Counties Convention here in Washington, and you saw the Good Government Show banner. You went, oh, I like that. I like what's going on. Give me an example of some good government that you've been able to provide to the folks down in your county.
Not hesitating when the weather is very inclement and you've got to open up a warming center, because there's some homeless people in our community that doesn't have a place to stay and they're going to be outside with the elements. I don't need to have tons of meetings to make a decision about a facility that we already have, that we can open the door and bring those people off the street into a nice warming place. There's a senior citizen who's on a fixed income. She gets Social Security or SSI, and that's probably $1,200, maybe $1,400 a month. What is she going to do with that? Because it's Easter. And on Palm Sunday, this Sunday before Easter, I'm giving out hams to those senior citizens. You said ham, pork? Yes, because guess what? Some of these senior citizens are stuck raising their grandchildren for many different reasons. We do the same thing at Thanksgiving time. We give away turkeys to make sure they can provide. That's the most expensive part of the meal. Those are basic things, pointing them in the right direction to help them with their utilities, with groceries, with transportation. One thing I'm really proud of, we were able to do for the local veterans in our community. We now have a county-owned and operated van called the Eagle. It has all of the Armed Forces emblems represented on the outside of the van. But this van is wheelchair accessible. Okay. We can hold 2 wheelchairs. It will give you door-to-door service for a veteran. Pick you up and take you to your doctor's appointment. Wait on you and bring you back home.
All right.
That's big. That's
big.
Huge.
Sure.
There's a lot of veterans who've fallen through the cracks. They don't have transportation. They don't have a support system. They don't have loved ones or families or friends who can support them. We're taking care of the veterans in Rockdale County.
So when do you rest?
I don't rest. Who has time to rest? There's no time to rest.
What do you do for fun? What do you got softball team, or what do you do?
Power walk.
Yeah.
Cook.
Okay.
Listen to
what
music.
What do you make when you're cooking?
I cook a little bit
Fish
of
and
everything.
grits?
That's one of the things that we make.
Okay.
But I smoke a cigar every now and then. I like a nice.
I don't see relaxing in any of this.
I do relax a little bit.
Okay.
I smoke a cigar every now and then, and I might have a glass of Crown Royal every now and then.
With a cigar?
With a cigar.
All right.
But I love date night with my wife.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Absolutely.
So she, my guess is she makes sure to schedule it.
Yes, she's in charge of that, and she works just as hard as I do.
Okay. This has been a great conversation with Oz Nesbitt. Thank you for stopping by, being intrigued by what we're doing, and for doing what you do. So thank you.
Thank you for having me on the Good Government Show, David. Your podcast is doing some phenomenal work, and it's really amplifying and highlighting so many good people who've held their hand and taken the oath to serve in public office. The essence of leadership.
That's our goal. That's what we try to do.
Thank you so much, David.
Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for stopping by.
Yes,
Great
sir.
to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
The Good Government Show is sponsored by Ourco. That means our community. Ourco has found a way to make government even more effective. Ourco provides a platform that blends in-person and digital interactions, and that connects people with their government. Their mobile app transforms meaningful conversations into reliable data, and the result is actionable insights that inspires a positive change. It's sort of like having a flash poll. Do you want to know if the community would rather have a dog park or a bike trail? Ourco can get you an answer immediately from the folks in your community. With Ourco, you can engage your citizens or any group, learn what they want, and build programs and policies that advance your county, your job creators, and your constituents. So visit Ourco.com, that's OURCO.com, and learn how they do it. And while you're there, book a demonstration. Well, like I said, Chairman Oz is highly quotable. And here's a few that stood out for me. The essence of leadership is service. And then he said, those who don't follow that are, these are his words, here's a quote, headed for destruction if they're not headed for jail. And his advice for newly elected officials, be humble and listen. And he said, leaders need to watch out for the ugly E's. Those are emotions, egos, and entitlement. As he says, his work is his ministry, and he believes he was really called to do this. So overall, this is pretty impressive for a man who admits to being at least 2% crazy. So that's my conversation with Oz Nesbitt of Rockdale County, Georgia, where he offered up some real insight into leadership. Join me again on The Good Government Show when we have another conversation with another government leader. I'm Dave Martin. Thanks for listening. The Good Government Show and A Conversation With is produced by Valley Park Productions. Jim Ludlow, David Martin, and David Snyder are the executive producers. Our editor and producer is Jason Stershic. This is The Good Government Show. Thanks for listening.